Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. Good afternoon and a happy new year. I hope you're all still keeping safe and sanitizing. I am Rose Njoki. I'm the Business Development Manager here at GlueUp, located in Nairobi, Kenya. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are happy to have you here as we have a discussion on the outlook for 2021, preparing your association for the new year. So today you hear from top association leaders from across Africa as they take a close look at some strategic planning critical to the future of associations, our new normal, the prospects of 2021, and how to transition your organization to get ready for the post-COVID era. So just a reminder to everyone, please feel free to send in any questions during the discussion using the Q&A box, and we will address this after we are done with the discussion. So let's go ahead and meet the panel. So today we have Mr. Oguche Aguda, who is the CEO of the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria. We have Mr. Kevin Jones, the Executive Director, South African Communication Industries Association, Dr. Jerry Gule, the CEO of the Institute of People Management, Mr. Jacob Mwangi, the CEO of the Architectural Association of Kenya. So welcome very much, Mr. Oguche, Mr. Kevin, Dr. Jerry, and Mr. Jacob. I also wish to introduce Eric, who is the CEO and founder of GlueUp. So I'm just going to hand it over to Eric to take it away.
Thank you, Rose, and good morning to everybody, as well as, I guess, good afternoon, depending on where you're sitting. Kind of funny to see the pictures of all of us there in suits and ties in our bio photos. The only one, obviously, this today who's similarly dressed is Oguche. Obviously, it's been probably a year since many of us have put on a suit or a formal dress to attend an event. But nonetheless, hopefully today we'll be able to cover some of the topics that are going to get us back on track and have an exciting 2021. We're happy and pleased to be able to welcome everybody for our first event for 2021. GlueUp had, obviously, like many organizations, an interesting year in 2020, and look forward to continuing our expansion around Africa and working with many of the organizations and associations across the continent. Today is really, the goal is to understand and really predict the future. Obviously, that's not always easy to do, especially after 2020 and what everybody went through. Predictions are never easy. Nobody would have said in January of 2020 that we would all be locked in our homes for months at a time in order to protect ourselves and our families and our friends from a virus that has gone around the world a couple times now and seems to have some light at the end of the tunnel, but obviously it's impacting our businesses and our associations and certainly our daily lives. So if we can, we're going to go ahead and just give everybody a quick introduction and a couple opening statements. I would encourage everybody who's joined us today, if you want everybody's full bio, feel free to go to the bottom of the box in your screen, and you will be able to find a little bit more information about all of our panelists. But firstly, we're going to start with a opening question. We'll start with Dr. Gule, and as well, if you can introduce yourself at the same time, which are two trends that you saw in 2020. And welcome, Dr. Gule.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for welcoming me and for being part of this gathering today. My name is Jerry Gule. I am the CEO of the Institute of People Management based in Johannesburg, South Africa. We've been around. Actually, last year was a fantastic year from a longevity point of view. We celebrated our 75th anniversary. So we're looking to the next 25 years to reach our centenary anniversary. So we're quite bullish and happy. But what we saw last year was just this sudden move from face to face, which happened to everyone. And I think I say sudden because when the virus hit, when we started hearing about the virus, I'm not sure how many of us actually thought it's coming our way. It's gonna be here. It was like, well, it's over there, it's in Europe. We're very far, we're down south, southern tip of Africa. And when the first case was reported in, I think it was in March, if not Feb, and the president then goes on TV and says, we're going to shut the country down on the 26th of March, we start the lockdown, hard lockdown. Even then, I thought that the view was, oh, maybe it's just those couple of months or weeks, we will be back to the so-called normal. I think when the lockdown was extended, it became very clear. So a big trend was associations started moving their activities, including ourselves. We needed to say, what are we going to do with activities planned for the year? Now you cannot meet face-to-face, and the activities were planned with the face-to-face in mind. And we had to quickly, let me use the word pivot that people are, has become was so popular last year. So that's what we had to do, to say we're going to go online. That's the one thing. But the other thing was, my feeling was, I mean, even our own organization, we were not really fully prepared. The implications of working online. We may have been working remotely, but the full implications of that had not dawned until very late, maybe in the third quarter of that year, when we were then geared up to understand how we can work remotely as an association. So that was the one big trend that I saw, they're just pivoting to work online.
Great. Well, thank you. Oguche, welcome to our panel.
Thank you, Eric, for having me on this panel. I'm the Chief Executive of the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, based in Lagos, Nigeria. And thank you, Dr. Gule, for sort of opening the session in that manner, because I couldn't agree more with you, was the pivot towards online. And just like you also, we were not too ready for that pivot, and we felt, it will open up in a month or two. So it was about the third quarter when we really get into the fact that this has come to stay and we needed to live with it. So the move towards online activity was a big trend. I think another trend was the need to be flexible. So there were some things that were, a sink or no, you had to have it this way. But with the pandemic and with shutdowns, then flexibility had to come in. So I guess the shift to online and the move to more flexible way of thinking, acting, and policies. So those are the big trends that I noticed last year. Thank you.
Absolutely, very good point. Being flexible definitely made last year a challenging one for many people and how they dealt with things. So thank you for that. Jacob, welcome.
Thank you so much, Eric, for that. And my name is Jacob Mwangi. I am the CEO of the Architectural Association of Kenya, also based in Nairobi, Kenya. Last year was a very unusual year. And one of the lessons that I learned from the activities of the year was the manner in which humans can quickly adapt to new way of doing things. Because we were very unprepared, all of us. I'm not sure there's anyone in this whole world who was prepared for anything that was going to come our way. And looking at it from the point of the associations, sometimes things can get quite a while for associations to change the way they do things, because of the many dynamics that are involved in changing things. But we saw that we were able to adapt to the situation. We saw that between the association and the members that we have, we were able to change quickly and say, we are finding ourselves in a situation that we did not anticipate, and we have to keep things going. I'll just give an example of our association. When this pandemic struck our country in March last year, we were just about a week before hosting our annual general meeting, and we were a bit lost for some hours. And then we thought, no, what we could actually take this thing online. You know, it had never been imagined in the past that you can have an annual general meeting online, but we were able to do it, to pull it through within a week, and we had what I would say is one of the highest level of attendance of our annual general meetings. So that shows that the human spirit will always quickly adapt to the new situations that we find ourselves in. Thank you.
Absolutely. And finally, Kevin, also from South Africa, welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Eric. So I'm gonna kick off by going back to your very first comment about the fact that none of us are wearing suits, and I'm going to expose myself in all my frailty by admitting that I can't fit into my suit any longer. So yeah, I had to go to a meeting where I had to put on a suit the other day. I could get in, I squeezed myself into the jacket, but I couldn't do my trousers up. So yeah, I suspect I'm not alone in that. Two of the things, I agree with everything that all of the other panelists have said, but two of the things that struck me as being fundamentally different this year as opposed to any other year. The first is the role of the association as a driver of social change. And one of the things that we found as an association active in the entertainment industry is that to a large extent, our members and the communities in which we are active have been largely sidelined and ignored by government, or at least that's the perception. I think that the reality is different. I think our government is very aware of the plight of individuals working in the entertainment industry. But what we have found is that we have needed to step up and be seen not only as the voice of our members, but as the voice of an entire industry sector that has very diverse views, and oftentimes the views of certain sectors of the market in which we are active are in conflict with the views of our board. And so one of the things that we found is that there's been a great deal of inherent conflict, and all of the issues that exist in South African society, particularly issues built around transformation, and here I'm talking about the role of not only women and young people, but actually issues around race. All of those have become boiling points for us as an association, and we've had to become far more aware of who we are as an association, how we communicate with the marketplace, and how we engage particularly with government. So first change that I would really reflect on is the role of the association as an agent for social change. And then the second issue that I would really revolve or focus on is the challenge that we have in engaging young people. Before the lockdown, we had established on-campus chapters at various universities around the country, and this is the mechanism that we used to engage with young people that were exploring the potential to pursue a career in the markets that we serve. And of course, in the same way that businesses are largely operating in a work from home environment, universities and colleges are also working in a work from home environment. And it's become incredibly difficult for us to engage with young people. And in many instances, these are people that are not members of our association, but they are people that we want to engage with so that we can start building relationships and get them involved in the association moving forward. So those are two big challenges that we've experienced. And I know that I mention them both because they fall outside of the normal gambit that we would have in this kind of discussion. We're all going to talk about, the way that change has impacted our ability to have face-to-face meetings and the way that blah, blah, blah. But I think that those two are fundamental changes. And I think that they've required us to look from a strategic perspective at our activities and ask how we can better serve not just our immediate members, but the broader community in which we are active.
That's great. And going, Jacob, as you really reflect, on 2020, what would you say is maybe the one thing that your organization learned that really sets yourselves up for hopefully a successful 2021?
We did go through some difficult times. I'll start from that point, because we find ourselves in a situation that threw us off balance, so to speak, because we start a year as we usually do with a whole calendar of activities. We had a whole set of objectives that we needed to achieve during the year, including not just the membership events that we run. We've got a whole department that runs our research and advocacy. So all that was really what's going to define us through the year, and then all that was thrown out of the plans anyway. So we learned that we needed to be a little resilient, but also to be very flexible as an organization, so that we are able to change our plans that we've taken months to put together as very, very quickly, and start running with new activities that will fit within the calendar of the year and get our association active. As you know, running an organization like ours, we need to keep ourselves active and visible, whether it's on physical or it's on online platforms or otherwise. And we actually relied a lot on our visibility, both on our social media platforms, both on our mass media and so on, so that we're able to be seen to be still running, to be able to be seen to be addressing to the things that are affecting our members. Because much as we had a COVID situation in this country, we still had issues that affected our members outside the COVID pandemic. We had issues about the ease of doing business, for example. We had issues that related to, say, construction safety. There were quite a number of things that needed to be dealt with. And we had to change our way of doing things as quickly, so that we keep focusing the issues that are part of the association's objectives, much as we're dealing with the pandemic during the year, and I'm seeing it's going to be here for a long time. And that level of flexibility, and it's also important that from an association point, that we have even both the management at board level to be as flexible and as the staff itself, so that we're able to run in tandem and get into things to do in a consistent manner. Of course, relying on a lot of communication. The tools of communications that we are now using have helped us to run through the year. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
Oguche, what has been, that one thing for you all that hopefully is going to set you guys up for a successful 2021 from a learning standpoint?
I think it's the softer things, and that's getting closer to members that we serve, just getting to understand their needs, activating the personal touch. Some people might have either lost loved ones, had to be at home often, and so just remembering birthdays, and just getting closer to them and letting them realize we're here for you. So I guess for me, the softer things, realizing that those things matter. Everyone, no matter whether they run an organization or their organization, there are people behind it. So if for anything, 2020 just brought out the humanness in all of us, if you will. So I guess for me, one key learning point is just getting closer to the members and seeing them as clients. Oftentimes, associations don't see their members as clients. So if I see them as clients, the fact that they could leave, because for associations, sometimes we are set up by acts of parliament or legislation, and in a sense, some people are mandated to be part of associations, like the architectural, like the pensions like I run. But if we begin to look at them as potential clients who might leave, as we can see with Brexit, so that begins to change the way we look at them, treat them, and just offer value. That's really the key thing: offer value.
Great point. Dr. Goulet, how about for you all?
Yeah, yeah. What I think is going to help us, particularly in 2020. I mean, Jacob has referred, both Jacob and Noguchi has referred to, in fact, even Kavan have referred to the importance of being visible, of being in touch with your constituency. And I think understanding, one of the things that I emphasize to my team is we really need to understand our members and understand that there is a segment. They don't want people have different needs. They are looking for different things from the association. And that for me has been very helpful, because in talking to the different segments of the membership, you then understand what it is that they need. Sometimes it's simple opening opportunities, because remember, our members are dealing with problems. And they want those problems to be resolved. And it's not us who can resolve them, but it's to point them to the right direction. So and so dealt with the same thing. So you just link the members themselves. You find a way in which they can talk about those issues. And I've also found, interestingly, and I think here is an opportunity for us, that the young professional who's coming into this, because of the visibility that we have been through online, we are able to create, has a lot of questions also. There is a lot of coaching that needs to be done. It's not us that can do that. All we do, we can facilitate. There is some coaching that I mean we can do, but the best thing that we can do is to help the members link. In other words, to network among themselves. I found that to be helpful. The other thing is spotlighting members. In other words, put the members on the spotlight. And we've run a lot of webinars and using the members, and they love that. They love the publicity, the visibility, because it's their brand that is getting grown. So I think there lies an opportunity. The last one is partnerships. And in partnerships across the board. I mean, I'm learning. We are all associations. Some people are in engineering, Kavan is in the comms sector, I'm in the people space. But at the end of what connects us is that you are actually dealing with people. So if we partner, and the partnerships that we've formed a couple of partnerships, I'm learning from my other association members, other executives. And I think those forums, and in South Africa, we actually have a forum of the CEOs of these professional associations, and you listen to what they say. I think it's something that I found very helpful, that I can pick up the phone, talk to Kavan if I need to, or meet in the meeting, and we talk about stuff that we're all dealing with and how we can leverage our strengths. So partnering with other people from other associations is very helpful. It has been helpful for me.
Great. Finally, Kevin, any words of wisdom from you?
I thought I was onto a winning streak until Jerry started talking about cooperation and collaboration, because that was going to be the focus that I kind of brought up. At an association level, the realization that you cannot do everything alone, and through cooperation and collaboration, you can achieve a lot more. By practical example, one of the things that we were involved in South Africa is the development of an organization called the South African Events Council, where there are 14 different associations active within the events sector, and all 14 of us came together to establish this Events Council so that we could engage in discussions and communicate with each other, coordinate our activities, engage with government on behalf of a greater whole. And as a result of that, we've been able to achieve things that neither one of us would have been able to achieve if we were working alone. So the importance of cooperation and collaboration between different associations has been something that is absolutely critical. I think the other problem that we all have, and nobody's mentioned it so far, although Jerry did allude to it, and that is that by virtue of our leadership role in associations, we sit on a lonely crown. We wear a lonely crown. We sit on a lonely throne. and actually there are not that many people that understand the nature of our business, and so actually there are a couple of times when Jerry and I have had conversations where we just talk to each other about the kind of challenges that we're experiencing in industry, in running our associations, and actually the realization that the problems I'm experiencing are not that different to the problems that Jerry's experiencing makes it easier for me to carry that burden. I also came across an organization active in South Africa called NPO NPower. So it's NPO for non-profit organization, and then in little letters WER NPower. And they provide counseling specifically for people working in the not-for-profit sector around issues such as anxiety and depression. I think that the emotional strain that we have all been under over the last 12 months is very significant, and it's important that we acknowledge those difficulties and that we don't see ourselves as too great to be able to avoid advice and support and assistance from others that are willing to help. So yeah, coming to terms with the emotional challenge of leadership in a time when many of your members are out of work. I think we did a survey a couple of months ago. So lockdown started towards the end of March, and we did a survey at the end of, so 4 months, March, April, May, June, July. At the end of July, 50% of the people working in our sector were out of work, and largely are still out of work. And that was people in full-time employment. All of the freelancers in our sector also out of work. So, this was a sector that was severely hit by the COVID pandemic, with very little support for people working in it.
Dr. Goulet, as you looked at 2021, what are the challenges that you see ahead for the organization and sort of the other associations that you've been able to have good conversations with?
Yeah, so I've spotted some 5 trends for associations in 2021. I think we will, particularly because in this part of the world, I think the vaccine will come, but it will come, I think the population, we will reach the so-called herd, what do you call it, whatever you want to call it, in maybe in early 2022. So this year, what I see is that we'll still have to max the online presence, the online activities, or have a hybrid thereof. I was actually talking to one of these service providers on online, and when you want to do a hybrid model, the costs I think are quite prohibitive. I was just listening to these guys giving me information, and I thought, well, I have members in Cape Town, in Durban, in Johannesburg, in Pretoria, and in other parts of the country, and you want to bring them on an activity, but you want the human touch, as it were, as people obviously social distance in terms of the law and all that. But because people are crying for the touch, that human interaction, face to face, not online like we're doing now. So that model one, I can see that it's because of the economic situation that we face. I don't think it's possible. So online, I see online staying. Secondly, I also see that we have an opportunity here to generate new members, and members coming from because we are visible, we're accessible. You run an event, you think you're just running it for your group in South Africa, but you have someone from very far from where you are saying, I want to be part of that. And by the way, can I be part of your circle of friends or be a member of your organization? Because this is what I want to say. So there's an opportunity for us to reach far and wide, provided the product or the service that we have to offer is what people are looking for. So that's the second one. That I've already referred to. The third one would be the hybrid model. I think there will be some sort of hybrid if the economics make sense. some organizations have already started doing that. I have a colleague who runs a legal practice, legal labor law staff. And what he does is he has constructed a studio and he broadcasts from the studio to different parts of the country. And obviously he even reaches out of the, but it's a hybrid because it brings people together, but because he owns, I think he owns some of the facilities, he's able to bring it down. I also think that training, as we have known it, and particularly in the HR space, which is where I am, I think we're going to struggle. I don't think that's going to come back from. I don't think companies will be spending a lot of cash, a lot of money on training. They are either going to be doing it in-house, if they do it with their own people. But these big training events that we used to have, I don't see that happening. So we have to change and see, because and see how we run that. In fact, it is a big challenge for us as an association, because we did derive a bit of revenue from training. But I think training is going to change. The last thing that I see here, trend is a transition in the profile of the members that we'll have. Because if we continue, I mean, I've heard this talk that working from home might be permanent, right? And that has serious implications in terms of how do we grow our membership? So the transition is the old school, the born before technology types of people like myself, and the younger members that have to come into our association. So there's a transition. People want, I mean, even I had to drag my board to online. Luckily, I was able to drag them in 2018, 2019. They were starting to be comfortable with that. 2020, they are comfortable with online board meetings. And therefore, but the younger generation has a different view. And how do we win them becomes really the question. That's something that I think all associations have to be working hard to get the younger people online. To join the associations. They're online already, but it's to join us as associations.
Very good points. Guche, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think some of the things that will help going to 2021 and some of the lessons we learned are things like the proliferation of information. So information is very easy to share about now. So people are getting it from other sources than from you. And previously, you used to be the one to share those information, exclusive information. So that's a challenge that we will have to deal with. Again, parallel associations. So it's very easy to set up parallel associations. And with the sort of social justice going on, and people, begin to set up parallel associations, which in a sense rival yours. And it goes back to the point I was talking about anticipating the needs of your members and ensuring that you stay close to them, ensuring that you anticipate their needs, such that you offer value and you communicate that value, and they know that in a sense you are the one to go to for whatever they're looking for. So really about anticipating their needs and structuring yourself to be able to meet those needs, because what's going to happen going forward, and what we've seen is with the young people with a heightened sense of social justice, people are setting up parallel associations and thinking, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be boxed into this association. Why do I need to be part of this association to practice this? I can do it on my own. And you're seeing spots of that coming out. But I guess it's to borrow the words of the 46th president of the US, to unite and to just see how we can meet those needs within the framework of the association, as opposed to getting people who want to either fulfill their purposes outside the association. So it's really stakeholder management, I think, is key. Has always been, will always be for associations, stakeholder management. We need to put that at the top of our list and prioritize that. Thank you.
Jacob, anything to add?
Yes, I would add a few things from experiences here. As I mentioned earlier, we have come out of a year that was the COVID situation actually took the headlines for the whole year. So a lot of things that we had planned to do, that we do as an organization, were thrown off the table. But I can see now we are now starting to reopen the economy. We're starting to reopen other discussions outside the COVID pandemic. So I see like this year we're going now to have to reopen the discussions that you started with government, for example, in our advocacy activities. And I'm sure the experiences that we've had will also shape our discussions, our proposals to government, because some of them would actually definitely be affected by the realities that we've learned from this pandemic over the last 1 year. Related to that, I see now business also is opening up. And as more businesses open up, of course, coming out of a very tough situation, very hard times, I see that there'll be many more opportunities for building some strategic partnerships between our association and such companies that will provide value-added benefits to our members. And that's one of the strategic objectives that we have this year. We just need to talk to companies out there because we're riding on the volume of membership that we have that can produce some meaningful economic benefits to the members that we have. On the technology side, a lot has been done during this last year in terms of improving the technology. We can now run our meetings and seminars and conferences through digital platforms as well as hybrid. I see additional extension so that we're able to produce technologies that will allow for more intimate, more personalized communication with our members. And that, I think, is a very important point when it comes to retention of membership, that you're able to communicate with members on a more personalized basis, because now we get to understand what their needs are, how they wish to be communicated to, and so on and so forth. So I see a lot of technological development along those lines to enhance how we communicate with our members and, of course, other stakeholders. Thank you.
Great. And for everybody out there, we have not had any questions as of yet to our panelists, but feel free to write into the box some questions if you would like to ask our panelists. Of course, we still have time, but again, obviously an opportunity for everybody to get some of their questions answered. And Kevin, events is obviously an important thing for most associations. For you all, how are you thinking about events in 2021 and sort of what is the plan as of the moment?
Believe it or not, we're planning an event. We're scheduled to host the 2021 World Congress on Audiovisual Archives, scheduled to take place in Cape Town in November next year. We have, and we're planning this as a hybrid event with a live audience. Target is to have 250 live delegates, and the objective is that our expectation is that about half of them will fly into the country from Europe. So we are planning a kind of a real live event, but we've put together very aggressive safety protocols to protect all of the patrons that are going to be attending, to ensure that the technical crew that are working on the event are also in a safe environment. And we're going to be doing it as a hybrid event so that we can engage with a remote audience. So we're not taking our plans for live events away. What we are planning to do, however, in the build up to that, is to host a series of smaller online events. I don't know how the other associations do this. I know how Jerry does it, or the IPM do it, is that you generally have a large annual conference where you get all of the members together and you engage in dialogue over 2 or 3 days. And one of the things that we found is that people are not going to participate in an online conference that extends over 2 or 3 days. They drop in and drop out. So what we've considered as an alternative, instead of having one conference that runs over 2 or 3 days, is to run 20 conferences over the course of the year. So each of them much smaller, each of them with a clearly defined topic of discussion, each of them with a group of subject matter experts that can share their deep knowledge and insight, but each of them, perhaps 1 or 2 hours where you gather people together and share in an engaging online discussion real life information that is relevant to a very narrow topic. So I think that the nature of engagement between members of the association and our members has changed. And that for me is perhaps the most notable, is that we've veered away from having one large event where we channel all of our energy into it, to 20 smaller events that allow us to engage with audiences on very specific subjects.
Dr. Goulet, how are you thinking about events in 2020 or 2021?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, in fact, it's a good question. This is the question, because what we have found, events, at least our events, and I mean, we have had our events in one venue for almost 50 years, because the members have told us they see this physical gathering together as, as a retreat. So we go away, we can relax, can enjoy the resort, and it's a big challenge. So we have therefore decided, and we were hoping that by now we would have a clear view as to where are we going with this situation, the current situation. And I've now been told, no, don't make any decision around the big events. That's the annual conference that will run an exhibition. We will make that decision towards the end of Q1. This is what my principals have decided to do. But in the meantime, we continue with, we continue, our webinars were very popular, so we continue with those, and we are avoiding, we've had a couple of face-to-face events, but with the peaks, you never know. Now we're experiencing the second wave here, so is there going to be a third wave? So it makes it very, it's very fluid, and so I think we'll stick with online events, make them, as Kevin Kavan has pointed out, you make them short, you make them targeted, and you basically, what we're doing, we're targeting different segments of our membership.
Jacob, how do you see events in Kenya taking shape this year?
Well, I just like earlier said, people are really looking forward to have the physical events because of that social side to it, element to it. And I will agree that the larger events will probably not want to go that way, at least for the time being, because of course the restrictions that are still there. I would agree with Kevin that yes, we're looking at having more of the smaller events, so that we're able to have even more intimate interaction between the participants and persons who are there supporting such events. And hybrid events, yes, we've had quite a number of them last year. As we imagine, we're just doing it for the first time. We're sort of learning as we moved on. And now I would say that we are getting to a point where now we're getting used to the online channels for events. One of the benefits that I got from the online events is that we have got members who are out of this country, and they were able to participate in such events. We've got members in the South Africa, the US, UK, and so on. We were able to bring them on board. They'll be able to make presentations. That is so I see the hybrid events being around for a very, very long time for ourselves and the industry in Kenya. Okay.
Well, Giche, what do you see for Nigeria?
I think it's the same for Nigeria with what was in Kenya, South Africa, most parts of the world, hybrid, online, even though people want to meet physically, because as human beings, we're social creatures. But I think the fear of the pandemic and the slow rollout of the vaccines in this part of the world will make that at this time, something that many people are not willing to engage in. So typically meetings with regulators or government functionaries are typically face-to-face, but even the governments who are slow in adopting technology are moving towards that. So we're seeing more online and hybrid events. And to Jacob's point, the benefit is that you're able to connect with people who otherwise would not have been able to. I mean, I think like Dr. Gule said, we had a board meeting and we had a full 100%. That was the first time we had a board of trustees. We had people that were outside Nigeria, and I think it's the way to go. We see some positives there, but still, people are still yearning for face-to-face. Hopefully, if this was 2 years ago, I would have met you, Eric, Kevin, Jerry, and Jacob face-to-face, but I guess we'll make do with what we have and make the best of what is a bad situation. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll start with you on this one. This is from one of our attendees today. Very important question. Subscriptions are slowing down with members seeking waivers, and sponsors are thin because of COVID-19 lockdowns that limit physical events. How are your associations raising funds in this new landscape?
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Alexander. Very good question. And I think it goes to the way that we think and the way that we are set up. So associations from way back have always 80 to 90% of their dues from membership dues. But we now need to think like business people. We now need to think like for-profit in a sense. So we are in between that profit and for-profit space. And we now need to set up as a for-profit. So of course, revenue and income is two sides. Number one is the cost, and number two is the revenue. So I think the first thing is even to see how we can minimize the costs that are not necessary. For instance, here, things that have to do with physical gatherings and all of that, how we can cut that off because we're moving to online. So paying for venues and things like that. So that helps to reduce cost. And in terms of revenue is now posturing yourself as, in a sense, a for-profit, finding out what your current and future members will want, and if they're willing to pay for it. I think one of the interesting things you realize is that some of the things you give for free, people are willing to pay for it. If you package it well, if you advertise it, if you add a few more add-ons, and like we've always been taught, don't leave things on the table. So begin to put a price on all your activities, your time, your resources, your skills, things that ordinarily you don't put value on. Begin to value things like your advice. You can earn from advisory, we can earn from matchmaking, we can earn from referrals, and earn from advertising your space. So looking at different business models outside of the subscription, and of course partnerships. I think Kevin and Gule mentioned that partnerships to see how we can collaborate with other people who have what you don't have to sort of reach your member base and then charge for that. I think that will be key going forward. Thank you.
Good points. Kevin, anything to add to this? You're on mute.
There you go. Don't know how many times you've had to say that. I see the question was asked by Alexander, and what I would really say is that I commiserate and completely understand. In our association, we have 4 primary revenue streams, or had 4 primary revenue streams. So membership is one that we all share. Industry certification, another one that I think we're all professional bodies in this sector or in this discussion. So another one that we all share. And then training was for us anyway, our primary revenue stream. And I think Jerry alluded to this when he was talking earlier. Training is just not high on the list of priorities of people that are struggling to hold on to their job. And so, revenues that came about as a result of training activity severely down, and then commercial sponsorships. And again, commercial sponsorships have disappeared. So, we're looking to monetize some of our existing products that we have previously made available either at very low costs or for free. But actually, it's a challenge that we still don't have an answer to. And one of the things that we're looking at is saying, well, what is it that members are looking for right now? It's commercial opportunities. So creating matchmaking, online matchmaking opportunities is I think something that can lead to a revenue stream that we haven't explored in the past. And the other one is that they're looking for employment. So a jobs board. And I think that those are two things that we haven't offered as an association in the past. And that's certainly they're two products that we're looking at introducing during 2021. But I think Oguchi identified this very nicely when he said that on the one hand, you've got income, and on the other hand, you've got expenses. And when your income drops, you really don't have a choice. You need to cut your expenses. We've slashed our expenses as much as we possibly can. People have been asked either to work a reduced number of days, or they've had to take salary cuts. And this is across the board, not just, it applies to me as well as all of the Sakia staff. But unless you can balance your expenses with your income, you're just not going to be sustainable. So you need to be ruthless if you want to survive.
Very good points, Dr. Goulet.
I can speak to the issue of costs. I mean, I agree totally with Oguchi there that as associations, I mean, one of the things that we do, we just like giving, and when and people get used to that, and when you say no, now we need to. Let me just give you an example. We have a magazine that we publish, hard copies of this thing. And when I joined, I'm only 4 years in our organization, and I said, "But how much does it cost us to do this?" You just from start to finish until it is in the head of the member. What's the cost? Sometimes we don't really understand the costs of that we and we found that we're actually subsidizing the members. So what they pay us and what it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. So we've had to look on moving that thing onto online and actually even forcing the members to go online. So the question of course is really understanding our course. I think is the first thing, the most we need to understand. Every activity that we do, have we really do we understand how much it costs us to put that activity? Because your subscriptions actually are not enough for anything. I think just not enough. We need to do more. So I would say to the delegate on that's a good question, but is there any fact in what we're doing? Is there anything that we can cut? Because the reality is that, I mean, I was listening to someone who runs a big organization, and they were clearly saying, listen, our money is not going to come to you. It's going to go into health, and it's going to go into sustaining the business for the next 2 to 3 years. So don't expect us to do what we used to do for you before, because it's going into health of our employees, health of the communities in which you operate, and sustaining this business. So you are way down so in terms of sponsorship, so that is really something that, so if we're talking survival, Kaban is right, we need to make sure that the little income that we get, we balance with the cost that we incur.
Also, very good points. We are coming short on time here. I have one final question for everybody. Before we do, just want to play a short video of something that the GUAP has been working on and launched late last year as a new way to bring members together virtually. There we go. Yep. Great. So that was our speed networking tool that we launched late last year and continue to get used around the world to bring people together virtually and, of course, simulate what would happen at a networking event. Of course, standing in line at the buffet line at a conference, but also those interactions that people still need today. The final question that I have, and we'll start with Jacob, a bold prediction for 2021.
Thank you so much. If you just allow me just a few seconds just to go back to the previous question about associations and the challenges in the resources and subscriptions and sponsors. I think one of the things to consider is I will just advise that association to go through their books with fine-tooth comb, so that if you find yourself in a place where you're subsidizing members in whatever activity or product that you're offering, I think that is a place where you can have a very honest conversation with members and tell them, look, this is something that we've been offering in the past for free or at no cost, and then you can actually have a discussion to allow them to start paying for it so that you don't incur any cost. I'd also look at associations are now competing with other channels. If you're looking at sponsors, for example, you find that with the new situation, sponsors are sort of tend to lean towards other digital channels because, again, they're also facing budget cuts. I think the associations need to be a bit more innovative, follow that path, run through the channels that seems to be preferred by the members and start monetizing them. If you're looking at online events, other digital communications channel, please look at options for monetizing those solutions out there. For 2021, I see technology as the key thing that will drive the associations, because technology, once properly deployed, will definitely produce some meaningful service and effective service delivery to members, efficiency in service delivery, and of course, it will allow for members to interact better with the associations, and of course, with associations deploying less resources to be able to serve its members as required. Thank you.
Kevin? Bold prediction for 2021.
So bold prediction, before I come up with my bold prediction, I wanted to say nice video. And I hadn't been aware that you were going to screen that particular video. So so when I spoke earlier about the need to create kind of networking opportunities that allowed people that were looking for jobs to engage with potential employers, you know, when I was watching that little video clip, it seemed to me that that's exactly one of the things that this particular product can do. So I'd like to speak to you about that after this webinar. Bold prediction for 2021. If I was in a commercial environment, I would call it mergers and acquisitions. I have no idea what we call it in the not-for-profit space, but I think that there is blood in the water. I think that many associations have a clear vision of what they want to achieve, but they simply don't have the resources to sustain themselves on a long-term basis. And I think that it's very likely that we are going to see organizations merging with each other. It'll start with cooperation and collaboration, but I see a lot of mergers taking place between associations active in various fields, and actually I see organizations and associations becoming stronger as a result of that. I think that oftentimes there are too many associations. We spoke earlier about the proliferation of associations. Sometimes I think that there are too many associations, too many competing voices, too much conflict within an industry sector. And I think if there is an opportunity for organizations to merge, to cooperate, to collaborate, and speak on behalf of industry in a united voice, it would be good for associations, for the industry, and for everybody else associated with it.
Oguche?
Yes, thanks. Again, just echoing what Kevin said, I do like your networking tool, and we should talk after. And I reckon everyone on the call will also just love. It's very good to the eye, and I think the features are quite great. Having said that, I mean, to your point, I think we will see some new business models coming up in terms of especially how associations make their money. And we'll see breakups and people threatening to leave in the mold of Brexit, whereby people feel the associations are not serving them or they're not getting as much value. So just opposite to what Kevin said, there might be parallel associations, even though some people will realize that they don't have enough to run alone and they need to merge. But on the other hand, you'll see parallel associations breaking up and people not happy with the way associations are run, especially if associations are not willing to be flexible in terms of how they run. So you'll see parallel associations in addition to new business models. And I guess the rise of the millennials and associations need to begin to structure themselves to mirror that demography. And I think also gender, you know, on this call, we're four guys. I don't know if that's a case, but we'll, in the mold of Kamala Harris, I think we'll see more women-led associations, and yeah. So those are my bold predictions.
Dr. Goulet, final bold prediction from you.
I think associations that respond to member needs. Remember, we have two types of associations. We have statutory and we have non-statutory, particularly in our environment in South Africa. And those statutory associations will grow, will thrive. And I think the non-statutory ones, if they are able to respond to the needs of their members, they are likely to grow. I see growing. Of course, it's going to go like this. I think it's going to dip and then grow. But my prediction is that we're all going to grow. We should grow because this thing is going to settle, and we have new tools that we can use to grow. The stuff that GLUAP is coming up with is should enhance our presence and our growth. So we should have an opportunity to grow. That's my prediction.
Well, we hope everybody grows and has an amazing 2021. Certainly challenges were abound in 2020, but we look forward to seeing everybody's success in 2021 and hopefully, obviously, getting to have an in-person discussion with everybody around the continent. But nonetheless, welcome to 2021, for an exciting year. Thank you all for your time on the panel today. Much appreciate your thoughts and your wisdom. And thank you everybody who has joined us this afternoon. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Good one, everybody.
All right, bye.